Greetings, the tubes. Hi, Mom. Guy with funny hat, part two. Had to change location and change my shirt. Apparently, the color shirt that I was wearing is extremely attractive to the wasps that are up here today, and they are in epic form. So they kept chasing me around, wanting to be my friend. Apparently, I was the wasp equivalent of a steak dinner or something. So they they're incredibly friendly, which mostly human beings are not that excited to be friends with something with stingers and tries to crawl up into every orifice that you've got. Go figure. I'm not sure the wasps understand that. Maybe they're just trying to be very, very nice and invite me to play whatever wasp games they do, or maybe they were trying to eat me. Anyway, so change location. This is what is it called? What they call it? Kern Meadow. I think it is Kern Meadow. Beautiful, beautiful country. I live as the drive goes, probably an hour and a half from here. I've lived out here for 5 years, and I didn't know this was out here. Um, this is about 9,000 feet. Beautiful, probably 65 degrees or so. Beautiful trees, uh, and and uh, and millions of the friendliest wasps you ever have seen. So, if you're a fan of stinging insects, I highly recommend it. uh, Apparently, there was a fire that went through here a year ago, and I found the one place where apparently the boundary is. It stopped right here. So seemed like a good place to stop and finish this off. Um, what was I saying? Oh, I was trying to finish my earlier thoughts, which were Azek Foundation, and uh, on one hand, there's we're having conversations about wouldn't it be great if we retreated into the past. Uh, we're having other conversations about wouldn't it be great if we just managed to keep uh, the current thing, whatever that is, going a little longer. Um, there's another conversation of this sucks and can't we get onto it and find something better. Um, and I am the radical moderate, and that's why I try and keep a foot in several worlds. And if I had a personal motto, it might be something to the tune of preserve the past, sustain the future, and what would you call manifest the future. So there we are. Preserve the past, sustain the present, manifest the future. We are not spending enough time trying to manifest the future, having the real conversations about, I don't care how we got here. I don't, I have some rough idea because I lived through some of it. We could argue ad nauseum about the things we should have done before we got to this. It doesn't matter anymore. We're here now. See? We're here. There we are. That's where we're at. Well, at least that's where I'm at. I don't know where you are. And this is way too late in the game to, bitch about if only we had original intent of the Constitution, capitalism versus communism versus Marxism versus socialism versus utilitarianism versus blah, 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 blah. Done. It's done. The conversations we need to be having is what kind of future do we want? What kind of future is healthy for us? There's, in recent years, there's been a lot of, discussion about, paleo diet and of course, evolutionary biology is, Brett Weinstein and such have been making a big splash on things. And of course, Jordan Peterson and his, go back to God and or whatever the hell he's doing. Make your bed, 12 rules for life, blah, blah, blah. Very, what would you call it? Traditionalism, but not really traditionalism. Their take on what they think traditionalism is. And it's not the same thing. It's the June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver, version of what we like to believe the 1950s were like, and it was not. I don't know about you, but my childhood was more the Munsters, the Addams Family, and Archie Bunker, maybe, and not a lot of June Cleaver in there. Anyway, we have this nasty habit of looking to the past, picking out the elements that we think make our point, and presenting that as the facts of what it was and what it meant. It doesn't matter anymore. That's over. The conversations are, it's urgent because the future's here now. There's no more waiting. Those negotiations we need to have about, yes, I know what human beings evolved to behave like, what type of world we evolved in, how our various strategies, were conducive for mating, procreating, blah, 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 sustaining of the species. That's great. I'm not concerned with who we were, who we are. I'm concerned with who do we want to become. Because we're in the now. And the now is the constant state of becoming the future. Live in the now. The what's coming. Next. And the future, if we want to have one, a good one, it needs to not look like the past. Not to say that you forget the past. Of course not. It informs us of the limitations of how fast and how far we can go in our current incarnations. How radically we have to change the recipe if there's certain directions we want to go to that are that we can't get to in the current form. But I think Jamie Wheel once said, or possibly Douglas Rushkoff, they were talking about the metaphor of an egg. And the idea is, if you were an aware being, if you were the world's most intelligent bird ever, and you're inside the egg, and you see, the resources drying up, and it's getting more and more cramped in here, and it's getting harder to breathe and uncomfortable, it would be reasonable to assume that you're seeing the end of all things, and oh my goodness, we need to preserve, we need to protect, we need to keep this the way it is as long as possible. Not understanding that your framing is incomplete. From all the things that you can sense, that makes sense. It is a reasonable course of action, and it would also be the wrong one. Chicken isn't supposed to stay in the egg forever. Eventually, the egg breaks. You hatch, and a whole new framing comes into being. And they were explaining the same thing with the Earth. Not that we need to destroy it in the process of becoming whatever it is we're going to be next, but there is a certain amount of sacrifice involved, unfortunately. And we will regret that in the future. And hopefully maybe we can patch up some of the damage and preserve what's left to remind us of where we came from, because it's important. But all the same, thinking of the Earth as an egg, thinking as each life as a continuation of the process, If you haven't heard me say it before, let me say it again. Death is only the end if you believe the story is about you. Story's not about you. Story's not about me. The story is the story. The story's about itself. We're just participants. Not unimportant ones, not necessarily important ones either. But we are necessary ingredients to make the story the story. That's probably not very zen. You'll excuse me. As a philosopher, well, I probably suck as a philosopher as much as I suck at picking out hats. Um, so forgive me on that one. But ramble, 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 blah, 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 blah. So, yes, we need to be much more actively talking about not how do we keep what is as long as possible. Although that is kind of important because I think we need to buy a little time. The future is kind of compressing and coming up a little bit faster than is absolutely healthy. Smoothing it out a little bit would not be a horrible idea. But having big conferences, big conversations about what kind of beings do we want to become? Where, where in this reality do we feel that is the best fit for our future? That honors our past, respects our present, um, and leads towards a future that benefits hopefully as many things as we can make benefit. Um, and and that's where I want to be. I want to be in the table having that conversation of who we want to become. Um, because I don't know about you, I'm tired of being me. I've been this me for a long time. Um, and there aren't a whole lot of surprises. I'm ready to be something else. I don't know what that is, but something a little different would be in order. Um, Certainly, there is a faction of the techno utopianists of which Elon Musk is part of, which is understand. Certainly, they seem to be framing that the Earth is an egg. Where we belong is a multiplanetary species. We need to be out there amongst the stars. That's where the real game is being played. We need to get off the bench and get out there in the real game. And that's an exciting idea for the future. And why not? There's an awful lot of out there. Shouldn't we be out there with it? Um, and you could take a negative point of view and okay, well, every planet we're gonna come to, we're gonna trash just like this one. That is a very narrow view of things. You can't trash the Earth. We change things. Just because the things that we tend to create, we look at negatively and see it as garbage and poison. Doesn't mean that that's the truth. Maybe if you're a coral building a coral reef, it looks ugly to you. We are a part of nature. We're doing the nature thing. Cars and skyscrapers and paved roads may not look like nature, but since we're a part of nature, then that's a part of nature too. This is that car is as much of what nature does as the tree next to it. It's just using us as a proxy. So burn that into your brain. See if that makes any sense. So yeah, the getting them out amongst the stars and changing forms. Who says this is the best way to do human? Or wouldn't it be nice if okay, maybe aliens don't exist. Maybe we're the only life in the universe. I doubt that for a moment. But let's say, for argument, that it is. Then, if there's going to be aliens out there, aliens gonna have to come from us. This rootstock. Wouldn't it be interesting if human meant all kinds of weird things? Cat whiskers, giraffe heads, tails, gills, fins, 4 legs, 6 legs, 8 legs, spinning webs. I don't know. I mean, to bestow the grace of consciousness amongst every form that we can think of. That sounds like an experiment that nature would love, and I think it's trying to get there. And if we don't figure out how to do it, then we'll go extinct, and it'll find some other thing that will do it for it. This may sound very Frankensteinish, and yes, of course, it has negative consequences. Well, but nature is amoral. What we think is right and wrong is irrelevant to nature. I think of nature as like a playful 5-year-old. It loves novelty. It loves to play what if. It's not sophisticated enough to put things in a good bad category. It's let's light the fuse and see what happens. Ooh, makes noise. Maybe that. Anyway, retreating to the past, no. Maintaining the present forever, no. Creating a sci-fi Star Trek where we're still the same stupid humans doing the same stupid things we always do, except with laser pistols and quantum tunneling weapons and teleporters. No. Get that out of your head. I frame a different future. A future that has no limits. And we should have no limits. And we should take many forms, and we should be many things, and maybe we should be a species that breathes methane, and certainly there should be some of us that's still the original rootstock, and we should, in all the things that we hopefully will become, we don't erase our past. We don't pretend it didn't happen just because it might not be palatable. But we don't wallow in it either. Like this thing about the slavery thing and the Civil War thing and that type of stuff. And I get it. I'm the wrong skin color to be talking particularly wisely about it. But my family had no stake in that game. By the time we started immigrating from Europe into this country, the Civil War had been over for 15, 20 years. So that is a history. It's not necessarily my history. But at some point, we have to admit there's no way to redress the past. We need to remind ourselves of it so that we don't repeat it, or try and avoid it as much as possible. But I'm afraid the horrible things that happened, and they can't be made good again. Wouldn't it be nice if it were so simple? Some debts cannot be repaid. Doesn't mean we forget the debts are there. But like everything, radical moderate. No extremes. Moderation in all things, even moderation. my favorite thing. Yes. Keeping a foot in every world. And coming up with a better, radically different future than the narrow-minded views of even the science fiction of the present. That is important to me, and hopefully it's important to the things that come after me. Yeah, I think I'll leave that there because yeah, that's a good stopping point. Anyway, wonderful. I managed to get through 19 minutes with no more wasps. Cool. Anyway, Doug, guy with bad hat, over and out.